Welcome back to Cocktails and Consoles, awesome people. It's Melissa, and your eyes are not deceiving you. Yes, we are in my kitchen, but no, this is not a vlog. This is indeed a cocktail episode. And a cocktail episode for what, you might ask? Well, we're going to be resuming Kelvin and the Infamous Machine. I played it way back in a New Game Wednesday. Thought it had a lot of potential, so I figured, let's see what else there is to it. In the spirit of Kelvin and the Infamous Machine, we are going back in time to remake an old classic. Now this could be debated, but in cocktails there is nothing older than the old-fashioned. So I figured if I had the ability to go back in time to the 1800s, early 1800s, the lore is a little hazy on this. Now if I had the ability to go back into the 1800s, the early 1800s, when this drink was conceived, I would add something a little bit special and a whole lot unsuspected. We are adding bacon. Now this is gonna sound strange, but bear with me. The major components of an old-fashioned, you have sweet from the cherries, you got the kick from the bourbon, and you have the bitters from the orange. But there's more flavors that you can add in that. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt, and we're gonna add a little bit of savory. And do you see what that does to this drink? To get us started, first what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna buy some bamboo skewers, and you're gonna wanna soak them in water for at least about an hour, because we're gonna be slow roasting this bacon. We don't want our bamboo sticks to burn or catch on fire. So we're going to take 2 slices of very thick cut bacon. If you can get pork belly, even better. My local supermarket unfortunately didn't have it, so I'm gonna go with 2 slices with a good amount of meat to fat ratio. And I'm gonna cut these, well first I'm gonna trim off the end, into about this size. Now you can use a whole slice of bacon. I'm just trimming this up just because it makes the ends look a little bit cleaner and fits more nicely in the glass. Once we have our bits of bacon here, we're going to take our bamboo skewers and just kind of fold in between the two so that way it holds it together. I prefer going in through the fat because I feel like it's going to hold better than if you go through the meat. Next, you're going to want to just pat the bacon a little bit. If you have packaged bacon, it tends to be a little watery than if you get it freshly cut. I don't know if it's just water additives or such, but I just find it to be a little watery. And we're going to dry roast this in the oven, so we don't want it watery. Now before we add our barbecue rub, we're actually going to drizzle a little bit of salt on that. Now I can hear you guys saying, but Melissa, there's already a ton of salt in bacon. And you're absolutely right, there is. However, there's still a lot of water that's trapped in that fat, and we want to pull some of that out. And it's very hard to do when you put salt into a barbecue rub. That's why I like to add it separately. Now for the fun part. Now we mix our own rub. Now if you have a barbecue rub that you're already partial to, feel free to use that. I just kind of like to mix my own depending on what kind of mood I'm in. So the key components to any good rub is always a little bit of salt, sugar, black pepper, paprika, a good spice, so a good bit of cayenne, and then everything else after that is whatever you want. I tend to like adding in some celery salt to give it a bit more, almost a floral quality. I don't really use garlic salt just because I'd rather use fresh garlic when I can, but these pieces are too small and you don't want garlic in what's going to wind up still being a somewhat sweet drink. So in a mortar and pestle, I'm going to start off with about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Again, you can mix these to any amount that you like. And to that, I'm going to add in a fair amount of bourbon smoked paprika that I found from my local spice store. Oh my god, it smells so good already. Next, I'm going to add in a little mixture of, it's kind of an all-packaged spice. It's got paprika, turmeric, coriander, cinnamon, cumin. So a lot of those Middle Eastern flavors that just gives it a, I don't know, kind of meatiness. Not too much, because we are going to get a good amount of meatiness from the pork. We're just going to highlight that a little bit. Then, a couple shakes of celery salt. And finally, a good amount of cayenne pepper. Now be careful if you've never used cayenne pepper before. This stuff is hot. Thankfully, after dining with Matt as long as I have, my tolerance for spicy food has gotten a little bit better. So I like mine a little bit more on the spicy side. We can take our mortar and pestle and just grind it all together. This also helps to break up any lumps that you might have in the brown sugar. There we go. Now, give it a real good drizzle. Again, not too much. You don't want to overpower the bacon, because we do want that bacon to come through a little bit. I'd say just enough to cover the top, and whatever sticks, that's what you go with. I tend to cook a lot like my grandmother. She never wrote anything down. It was always just eyeball, feel, and taste. And I know it infuriates people when they ask me, oh, what's your recipe? I don't know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and cook it till it's done. Then onto a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. We are going to take our slices, we're going to lean them up on the sides. So that way when it roasts, the pork isn't kind of just sitting in its own fat. It actually dries a little bit, and that's what we want. We want just a little bit of crunch if we can get it. Plus it allows the heat to move up and underneath the pork and cook it all evenly. There we go. Now, into a 375-degree oven, we're gonna put these in for, keep an eye on it. I'll let you know somewhere on the side how long this one took, but like I said, keep an eye on it. You want to get just a little bit of brown, but you want to make sure that the seasoning doesn't blacken, because there's just no saving it from that point. Once the bacon is done, let it cool down a little bit, and then you get to start assembling. So, in your standard rocks glass, we're first going to add a couple of cherries. You can use maraschino cherries. If you have them, I recommend the Luxardos. They just, oh, the flavor is just incomparable. Hashtag not sponsored. About 2 or 3, depending on how sweet you like your drink. Take your muddler and just give them a good mash. You don't need to obliterate them. Really, you just want to open it up so that way the bourbon can get in and around and pick up some of that flavor. Now to this, we're going to add 2 ounces of bourbon. And I'm going to go back in one more time with the muddler just to make sure the flavors kind of meld a little bit. Pretty much your standard setup for an old-fashioned. But now here's where things get different. Instead of adding in the soda water and the bitters like you would normally do with an old-fashioned, we're going to skip the bitters. We have a lot of flavor on these bacon slices, so that's what we're going to use in place of the bitters. So I'm going to add in my ice. A nice big cube works best. And then the star of the show, our bacon. Now I added a cherry at the bottom just for a little bit of garnish. In place of the water, I'm actually using sparkling blood orange soda. So we still have that orange flavor, but it's not heavy and it's not sweet. And finally, give it a good stir with the bacon to really meld those flavors. What you can do if you really like bacon is take your bacon slices, put them in a glass, and then pour the bourbon over that and let it sit for a while, and those flavors will infuse. And there you have it, the new old-fashioned. You have the sweet from the cherries. You've got the sour from the blood orange. You have the savory from the bacon. You have that spice from the cayenne that's coming through. It's so good. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you guys enjoy Kelvin and the Infamous Machine. It's looking pretty promising. I'm looking forward to playing alongside you guys.